The Legends Division schedule kicks off in prime time on Thursday, August 29th. Minnesota hosts UNLV right here on the Big Ten Network. Jerry Kill and the Gophers' new-look offense hope to make a strong statement to open up the coach's third season in Minneapolis. More prime time on opening weekend as Northwestern, fresh off its first bowl win since 1949, heads out west for a showdown with the Cal Bears. Evening matchups continue to excite in Week 2 as Michigan and Notre Dame meet under the lights at the Big House, with Michigan looking to relive its Ann Arbor magic of 2 seasons ago.
He's going to throw for it. He's got to throw it to the end zone. Lobs it up. One-on-one. Caught. Michigan. Touchdown. I can't believe this.
A pair of intriguing matchups highlight the Legends schedule on September 14th. In another non-conference rivalry game, Iowa heads to Iowa State as the Hawkeyes look to snap a 2-game series skid and bring the Cy-Hawk Trophy back to Iowa City. Also on the 14th, Nebraska plays its toughest game of the non-conference as the Huskers host reigning Pac-12 South champ UCLA. Nebraska totaled 439 yards of offense against the Bruins a year ago, highlighted by Taylor Martinez's 92-yard touchdown, yet still came up short at the Rose Bowl. The Legends Division wraps up non-conference play with another Big Ten battle against Notre Dame when Michigan State travels to South Bend on September 21st. The Spartans will be seeking to avenge last season's home loss to the Fighting Irish.
And that was Rick Pizzo. Which of those non-conference games intrigues you the most?
UCLA at Nebraska. And Rick mentioned it on those highlight tapes. How about this? Nebraska gave up over 600 yards a year ago against UCLA. It was a little bit of an indication what could go wrong with the Nebraska defense. I suggest to you that this year's game will be an indication of how good the Nebraska defense will be and how much improvement that they've made. Big-time game, UCLA at Nebraska, Howard.
Well, we talked about a lot of movement. They saw a lot of movement by receivers and tight ends in that game, and that's where they struggled. But I got to look at this one. Michigan State, Notre Dame. And this is why. Michigan State's defense is really going to come to play in this one. But they struggled moving the football, and that's where they're really going to have to excel. This game was 14-3 from going into the fourth quarter, so they had a chance but were never able to get the offense going. Look for the offense to have to move the ball this year.
2 games that weren't mentioned, same opponent, Northern Illinois. I mentioned it earlier, right. Good test against Iowa. They also play Purdue. Both of those teams trying to get into the bowl picture. That's the kind of game they've got to win. As for the conference schedule, here's Rick.
Conference play in the Legends Division begins with a trophy game as Iowa and Minnesota battle for Floyd of Rosedale. The Hawkeyes captured Floyd with a 31-13 win in Iowa City last year, and this season's matchup will be key as both teams face brutal conference schedules. On October 5th, Northwestern celebrates homecoming by welcoming Leaders Division favorite Ohio State to Ryan Field. The Buckeyes and Wildcats haven't met since 2008, and Pat Fitzgerald's unit will be out to show they're nothing like the team which lost that game by 5 touchdowns. In November, the Legends Division race heats up as Michigan plays 3 straight against serious conference contenders. On November 2nd, the Wolverines head down the road to East Lansing to battle Michigan State. Last season, Michigan knocked off the Spartans 12-10, ending a 4-game series losing streak. The very next weekend, Michigan plays host to Nebraska as the Maize and Blue look to erase the memories of last year's loss in Lincoln. And on November 16th, Michigan heads back on the road to face a Northwestern team set on revenge after 2012's dramatic overtime win by the Wolverines. The last week of the season provides both drama and rivalry. Iowa and Nebraska will once again face off on the Friday after Thanksgiving, a new tradition which so far has been all Huskers with 2 straight Nebraska wins. Northwestern and Illinois battle for in-state supremacy and the Land of Lincoln Trophy that same weekend as the Wildcats and Illini meet in Champaign. And finally, Michigan and Ohio State will play the game for the 111th time, this year at Michigan Stadium. The Wolverines have dropped 8 of their last 9 against the Buckeyes, a trend which must stop if Brady Hoke's team wants to reclaim conference supremacy from its arch rival.
So, Rick, kind of isolating the games there, bigger picture, whose schedule do you find the most interesting?
Northwestern's, and we've talked about this quite a bit, and here's why. Let's take a look at it. They open up against Cal. They won't get back until Sunday morning. Let's go to crossovers game. Ohio State at home, but at Wisconsin and at rival Illinois, at Nebraska, and at Iowa. I think scheme-wise for their defense it's going to be difficult, and I think obviously they've got the toughest crossover games of all the contenders, Howard.
How about Michigan State not having to play Ohio State or Wisconsin? I think that's going to be huge. And then once you go into it, I think it's even more important when you look at where those byes fall. It's going to be September 28th. That's after that Notre Dame game. Then they get ready for the Big Ten season. They've got to play 5 games. You don't think they could go, 4-1 in that situation? That Michigan game is going to be big, but then again, they have another bye right after Michigan, and then they'll finish up. And I think coming off 2 road games that they're going to have to go into coming out of that second bye, they're going to have to get prepared for that. But those byes, I think, are critical where they land for Michigan State.
Byes help. Crossover games help quite a bit for Michigan State. And I think you could say the same for Nebraska. Also a very intriguing schedule. It's not so much who they do play, it's who they don't. Huskers a bit tougher than Michigan State. They go to Penn State. Of course, Michigan State doesn't play them, but when you're looking at winning the division, Nebraska gets 2 of the other 3 top contenders at home, Northwestern and Michigan State. Again, very pronounced differences. The crossover is a huge part of that, and I think we'll see that again tomorrow night when we look at the leaders division, Wisconsin and Ohio State. Not so much who they do play, but who they don't play. Very favorable for both of them.